Welcome back to episode 4 of the TNT Real Estate Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Tyler Peroni, and I'm sitting beside my wonderful co-host, Tanya Vandenberg. Today we're going to talk about all things Greater Sudbury. We're going to talk about affordability. But first, we're going to talk about the news coming from the Office of the Superintendent of Financial Institutions. I knew I was going to mess that up.
So what's the news? Just came out today, was it?
Yeah, so it came out yesterday. Mm-hmm. The news is that all renewing mortgages, so when you're going to renew your mortgage after 1, 2, 3, 5 years, you are now going to be able to not get stress tested if you go to a new institution. So one thing the banks like to do, if you're just going to go to your mortgage renewal base, you still have to, the bank is still going to approve you for your new mortgage, even though you've been paying for it for 5 years. Mm-hmm. Now they're saying that if you want to go to a new institution, if you want to shop around, because often the renewal rate is a little bit higher than what what the new customers mm-hmm. are getting. So if you want to go to a new institution, you now do not need to be stress tested.
Right. So it nice. Used to be that, like, if you stayed with your same institution, you could forego the stress test again. But if you were shopping around and looking for a new mortgage, they would then apply that stress test rule to you.
That's right.
So I think that really would have cut down on sort of the competition, right?
Yeah.
And making people stick with their old institution rather than looking for maybe a better rate, maybe better terms, maybe a bank or a lender they're more comfortable with.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of anti-competitive, really, because I get the whole you want your customers to stay with you, but having a regulation from the government saying that it's actually cheaper if you stay with the bank that you're already at is kind of, I would say, anti-competitive. So it kind of levels the playing mm-hmm. field. It would probably bring down the mortgage rates a little bit as well, make them a little bit more attractive for those people that are looking to renew their mortgage or that need to renew their mortgage. So I think all in all, it's a good thing for consumers.
Especially because that stress test, with the rates and the interest rates rising so much in the last couple of years, it really has changed the dynamics for a lot of homeowners even, right? Previously, they might have qualified at the prior rate. They've been paying their mortgage for 2, 3, 4, 5 years consistently, and now all of a sudden they'd have to go through the stress test again. So like you said, I think it's just fairness across the board to allow those people to then shop around and find the best institution to be with.
Absolutely.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, so that's great news for affordability for homeowners, current homeowners who are then going to be renewing their mortgages. Now, what do you think are some sort of tips and tricks that people who want to get into the market to sort of increase their affordability? Mm-hmm. So let's take Greater Sudbury for an example, because we're here in the city of Greater Sudbury. We have lots of different communities that people can live in. So what are maybe some strategies that you think a new home buyer can get into to sort of increase their affordability?
Well, I think, the old adage, location is probably one of the top tips. Mm-hmm. I think I shouldn't say everybody, lots of people want to live in the core, the Sudbury proper, which is the south end, hospital area, all the way up to New Sudbury. But those are all obviously the most expensive places in the city, right? So I think going a little bit outside, let's say you're in New Sudbury mm-hmm. and you want to go, if you're willing to go a little bit farther out to Garson, I think, their house prices are obviously lower. Mm-hmm. It is still a great community. You have everything you need out there. But I think that is probably the one thing.
Yeah. And with the new Maley Drive extension, I think that's really helped Garson become more accessible, easier to get into New Sudbury. So if your kids have activities or if you just wanted to do some shopping, right? It's like 7 minutes maybe to get from Garson to New Sudbury to all the shopping and amenities that you would need. Yeah. So that's a really great alternative. We so I would say the south end is another area that is very expensive in Sudbury. Yeah. And one is the most expensive, yes. And one of the kickers for the south end really is the taxes. I find the taxes can be high for homes in the area when you then compare it to other outlying areas. So I do have quite a few clients who've then looked at Lively as the alternative to the south end. It's probably about 10, 15 minutes or so. And it's a great community, similar to Garson, right? It's like a small community. It's got a great feel, has everything you need. It has, great schools, shopping, amenities, and even has like a little ski hill.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. And then the property taxes are so much lower, relatively speaking, if you're thinking of like a home that's same age in the South End versus the Lively area.
Yeah.
I think that's really good.
And then even in the more expensive areas of Lively, you're still getting bigger lot sizes compared to the new subdivisions in
Absolutely.
the South End. You're usually getting bigger houses as well.
Yeah. Yeah. If you look at that subdivision, like the Sugarbush subdivision is a really good one. You could compare that to, say, the Vintage Green subdivision. They're similar vintages.
Yeah.
And certainly your taxes are going to be lower out in Lively.
Yeah.
And those lot sizes, sometimes they're like 150 feet deep, those lots. So you get more space for your money.
especially the ones backing on the green space for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then like obviously Garson, if you're like just comparing that to New Sudbury, the Meadow Green, Blue Jay Way, obviously, those have decent sized lots. Obviously, some of them backing onto the bush, so you have access to green space right off your back. And then obviously all of the subdivisions are still growing, so it's a good time to get in because most of them are in early stages. I would say maybe not Sugarbush out in Lively. There's not that many new lots, but Meadow Green for sure. Vintage Way is kind of coming to completion, but obviously both beautiful subdivisions.
Yeah. So there's some great areas for people to move to if they're willing to move outside the city a little bit. I'd say another one would be also like the Azilda Chelmsford. That's also very close to the city center. So if you're looking at even like New Sudbury or even South End, you might consider going out to Azilda and then even Chelmsford, where you would have, again, lower taxes, lower price point for homes as well. Yeah. And sometimes you get bigger lots and more space for things like people are looking for nowadays, which is space for pools, garages. Most homes will have large garages, and that seems to be what a lot of people are looking for.
Tons of green space.
Yeah.
Tons of, I shouldn't say tons of privacy, because I mean if you're in the heart of Azilda, you still have neighbors, but there's tons of outlying area that has more than enough privacy.
Yeah, there's tons of lots too that are over an acre. You get some areas that are a little bit more rural, and even some new homes that are built on those rural lots.
I think Azilda is one of the most, I shouldn't say hidden gems, but I think it's a gem of Sudbury. You're so close to Whitewater Lake, like the whole city is just surrounded by it. You have everything you need out there. I would say Azilda is one of the top places, and it's so accessible. You can get there from downtown New Sudbury. You're there in like 5 to 7 minutes.
Yeah, I really think it's like maximum 10 minutes to get to Azilda.
Yeah. And
one of the things that I love, like whenever I go out there, is all the farms. There's a ton of farms. There's a lot of vegetable stands. There's a lot of like places where you can go and just get some fresh eggs. Lots of greenhouses where you can go get all your vegetables for your garden, all your flowers. So that's what I like.
Those things.
I'm into those things. I try to be into those things. They don't necessarily survive the season, but I always try really, really hard at the beginning of the season.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if we flip over to the other side of the city, Minnow Lake is obviously getting more expensive. There's
tons of new subdivisions.
Tons of new subdivisions. Zulich is I shouldn't say nearing completion, but it's coming close to completion on the Sherborne. Beautiful houses that are being built there, but it is obviously driving up the price a little bit in Minnow Lake. And Minnow Lake was where the New Sudburyers would go to kind of get a little bit of a lower price. And now when you're in Minnow Lake or you can't afford Minnow Lake anymore, you're kind of moving out to Coniston, Wahnapitae. Both are really nice places to live, smaller towns, both with everything you need, especially driving through, like if you are living in if you're living in Wahnapitae, you're driving through Coniston to get all your groceries and stuff anyways on your way home. So I think that's a good alternative as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of alternatives that people can seek out. If you're looking for a place that's more affordable, taxes are lower, maybe you get bigger lot sizes, maybe more space for a garage. If you're willing to just go maybe 10 minutes outside the city, maybe 15 max, and you're really going to get that increased affordability. So I think that's a good strategy for first-time home buyers just trying to get into the market.
Yeah. And then the one location that we haven't talked about yet is the Valley. The Valley is a good spot. Mm-hmm. The prices are soaring in the Valley as well, just like, you know, the rest of the city. Mm-hmm. But I think the Valley is still affordable, and I like, especially when you go on the little like the back roads, you see some beautiful houses.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're just like acre lots or more, like 5 acre, 10 acre lots, big beautiful houses. Mm-hmm. You get all the privacy you need. You're backing onto the forest, so you can take your quads and bikes and all the things out. So that's obviously another kind of.
And it's nice to see the Valley growing as well, right? We have some new subdivisions, growing subdivisions in there. Yeah. So that's really nice. You're getting more people, more amenities. There's a really great community center, sports fields, all sorts of things for families, and tons of shopping as well. It's its own city almost, the Valley. If you take Val Caron, Val Therese, and Hanmer, kind of put them together.
And in the last, I want to say 15 years, there's been 3 new schools built. There's one being built currently on right off the highway. So it is growing. Obviously, people are recognizing that because more people are going out there, more space, more privacy, great amenities, lots of good restaurants as well. So people are taking that into factor as well.
It's good to see Greater Sudbury growing, not just the city center, but the outskirts, the other cities that are part of the greater city of Sudbury, really growing, and the population growing and diversifying as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
So you think with the tip of location, maybe expanding your search a little bit, not focusing on the core of the city, and then with these interest rates that we talked about on the last episode, with this new renewal, I think 2025 is looking to be a pretty aggressive real estate year. Do you have any outlooks on 2025?
I'm a little nervous. I think it's gonna be a really, really hot year. I think we're pretty close to getting back to those soaring markets where there's just a lot of demand. So it's a little bit concerning, right? Because we never have enough supply to meet the demand. But like we're talking about the growing subdivisions, there is new housing being built, so that's promising. But I think it's great for first-time home buyers to get into the market because their affordability is just going to be that much higher. Yeah. But,
so if you're a first-time home buyer, are you buying in the winter of 2024, or are you waiting until 2025?
Yes, you're buying now. I know, I always think fall is a really great time to buy. November, December, even January, things are a little bit slower. Most home sellers are waiting to the spring to put their house on the market. Yeah. So maybe if you're very, very particular about what you want to wait till there's a ton of choices, but you have to be prepared to compete because that's when most people want to buy. So I always like to go against the trend. So buy when other people are not really interested in buying, knowing that coming into next year, 2025, interest rates are going to drop further and you're going to be in a better position. Yeah. And you'll have beat everybody else out by purchasing sooner.
I think for especially first-time home buyers, if we can get in the market sooner than later, because if the CMHC rule comes into effect, which is supposed to be January 1st, December 1st, the interest rates are supposed to drop, 1.5 or 2 before the end of, or before the middle of next year, and then with this new renewal option as well, I think next year is shaping up to be a crazy year for house prices.
Probably very busy for appraisers, very busy for realtors, and very busy for home buyers to be out there looking for homes.
Yeah. Well, I think this was a good episode.
Yeah, awesome.
Let's close it off there. Thank you all for tuning in or viewing, and we will see you next week.